unpacking today's headlines. This is Souls and Liberty in Depth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Depth, the production of Souls and Liberty, brought to you in partnership with MyPillow. Last night was the Catholic Al Smith dinner. Trump was there. The communist was not.
My opponent feels like she does not have to be here, which is deeply disrespectful to the event, and in particular to our great Catholic community. Very disrespectful. The last Democrat not to attend this important event was Walter Mondale, and it did not go very well for him.
22% of Americans identify as Catholic. Catholics will be a key demographic in every battleground state. I'm sorry, why is Vice President Harris not here?
Should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never again.
More later on the campaign of joy, but first,
Barack Obama says something is wrong with you if you're wearing the pants in the house, if you're the spiritual leader in the house, if you're the moneymaker in the house, if you're the protector in the house.
All right, 18 days to go, and some desperation is starting to set in over in commie land, especially when it comes to the black vote, specifically young men. Harris called on Obama to hit the trail and get those young black men back on the plantation. That got the ire of Steve Smith from ESPN, hardly a friend of conservatives.
Before I go any further, I want you to hear exactly what this man had to say.
I'm speaking to men directly now. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. That's not acceptable.
Respectfully, President Obama, what you said is not acceptable. Is it possible that the only reason some black folks may not be inclined to vote, or they may be a bit disenchanted, or dare I say may even be willing to go as far as voting for Trump, is it possible that it's policy as opposed to misogyny, inflation, the cost of living, the price of gas, the price of groceries? That don't matter? Immigration and our borders, and this belief that there's an elevated level of sensitivity towards them, as opposed to black folks struggling, if not starving, in this country. Yes, that plays a role too. When the mayor of New York was talking about $53 million in prepaid credit cards for immigrants who came across our borders illegally and having prepaid credit cards for them. And I said, wait a minute, black folks been starving for years. We ain't get that. You don't think they notice?
Here to talk about all of this is Claver Kamawamani. I'm your host, Gary Michael Voris, here in Houston. Claver, does Steve Smith, Steve Smith is who we're talking about here, does he have a reason to be upset?
Absolutely, he has a reason to be upset. I'm right along with him. No, it's not as if he's a rock solid conservative. I mean, we talked about this, and you know that I'm an ultra conservative. But the tone of Obama in that speech, in that campaign rally, that's not foreign to Barack Hussein Obama. He has a tendency to get to lecture, to talk down, to be condescending. And I think what he actually achieved was the further repelling of the black male vote away from Kamala Ding Dong. Okay, it was insulting, absolutely insulting. Black men are intelligent. They can smell authenticity. They can smell when they're being backed into a corner. The old Joe Biden saying of 2020, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That was the same attitude that Barack Hussein Obama had when he did the campaign rally and was talking down and lecturing to black men and black voters in general. It's not going to work.
Well, let me ask you, Claver, if I can, let me ask you here. I mean, it's one thing for, Biden, who's, whatever, he's Biden, he makes stupid comments his entire time, but does it land differently among black men when Obama is the one saying actually that and worse? I mean, he just said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I mean, Obama went on to say, if you're not voting for Kamala, you're a sexist.
Well, this is what they do, right, Gary? This is something that you focus on a lot in your commentary, and what the staff writers focus on a lot is the identity politics that is inextricably linked to the methodology of the Democrat Party, right? They believe in this identity politics that if you are a certain fill in the blank, you are obligated to vote for our party regardless of the candidate.
Right.
And that's not working anymore. The voters, not just black men, but on many of the demographic levels, race, religion, ethnicity, region, blue collar versus white collar, there's a major shift happening in the electorate. And it just so happens that my prayers are being answered, that part of that shift, a major part of that shift, that is going to be a true thorn in the side of the Democrat Party is the African-American male vote. That more and more of them are moving over to the party of common sense now. That's the Republican Party. They may not be completely plugged into what conservatism is.
Right.
But this populism that Trump is espousing is certainly attractive to them as men who aspire to to attain a better quality of life. And they can relate to Trump. Kamala can't relate to them.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Let's going to take a little break here. When we come back, I want to ask you why she can't seem to nail down the young black male vote, in addition to all those other ones, but this one in particular. We'll be right back. The establishment has tried to assassinate President Trump twice, but we can't really be shocked that those who slaughter 1 million unborn babies each year would try to kill one more human being who stands in the way of their diabolical agenda. Trump, like every one of us, including all of us at Souls and Liberty, is a sinner. But like all of us, he is in the fight and fighting for all of us to get one more chance, maybe a last chance to save the republic. We must hang together, or as Benjamin Franklin said, we shall hang separately. And maybe far sooner than many imagine, because communists take over and always persecute Christians and Catholics in particular. Let us help you fight these forces of evil. Become a monthly supporter today so we can continue giving you the information, the tools of our faith, and the support network you need to go out and save souls and save our nation. Join our merry band of happy warriors and click below to get into the fight. We need you, we need each other. Join the resistance. Become a monthly donor today. All right, Claver, welcome back. What is her problem? The black vote should, we would imagine, have long ago been put to bed in this election cycle, right? Yet here's this stubborn thing out here, and it seems to be drifting further and further away from her.
Mm-hmm. I think there's two primary things here that's going on that's patently obvious to anybody that has eyesight. Number one, she's just not likable. She's just not attractive as a candidate. She's not attractive as a person. We can't relate to her. She can't relate to us. And the second thing is her policies are just asinine. And I believe that the voters, especially in the black community and black males, they see it. Like, black males also like strength. Okay, you got to remember when Barack Obama, who isn't the most masculine man on the planet, was running, who was he running against? John McCain, who is very uncomfortable around black people, and Mitt Romney, very uncomfortable around any kind of people. Okay, so just uncomfortable around human beings. And you get the feeling that Kamala is the same way, that she doesn't have this authenticity that you saw with Donald Trump going into the Bronx yesterday and spending over an hour in a barber shop.
Right.
That is the litmus test. That is the petri dish for the communities of color to see what black men, and in some cases women, are thinking in those barbershops. That's the focus group. And he was overwhelmingly loved by the patrons of the barbershop in the heart of the Bronx. Here's a guy that was endowed with $1 million from his dad. He turns it into $1 billion. Listen, what a lot of people don't remember is the old USFL football league, when it was played in the summertime. Donald Trump was one of the original owners of the New Jersey Generals. Who was the first player he picked and made into a multimillionaire? The Georgia Bulldog, Herschel Walker.
That's right.
They've had that long of a relationship. The idea that he's racist no, a lot of black men aspire to live like Donald Trump. I do. I have real estate holdings. I would love to be as successful as he is and still have that touch with the common man, not forgetting where I came from. She can't do it. Those are the two things. First, she's not likable. She's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
She's not articulate. She's not attractive as a candidate. And she doesn't make sense. Her policies are nonsensical.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm noticing her on social media, Twitter or X in particular, and I don't think I'll ever get used to calling it X. And I've noticed over the last week, she or her people under her account are much more active there now than they've ever been. I mean, she used to post something now like once a day kind of thing. Now there's 6, 7, 8, 9 things a day. And most of it, I'd say is probably 75-25 is just Trump sucks. And the rest of it is, I'm going to give you, $6,000 for child credit. I'm going to take care of the elderly. I'm going to, fix immigration. I'm going to this. I'm going to that. To which I got to tell you, in just a brilliant retort, J.D. Vance answered. One of them said, "That's cool. You're in office now. Why don't you do it now?" The guy's just great. I mean, they are really good. Clay, we're going to step away here, but when we come back, I want to ask you what you see as the major demarcation line in the campaign. What's the fault line between Harris supporters and Trump supporters? We'll be right back.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
No matter who wins in November, we have to embrace that we are living in a post-Christendom culture. And the heart of that is a rejection of the gospel. As one item on our agenda to combat this, Souls and Liberty is hosting our first annual retreat at sea. You might be familiar with the annual event we produced for over 10 years at Church Militant. Dr. Jules Gomez, our Rome correspondent, and I are going to be doing the presenting, and the theme is Christians in Exile Triumphing in Adversity, which provides a whole range of discussions to think about. Now, we sail out of Galveston, Texas to the Western Caribbean November 10th to the 17th, yes, right after the election. I think all of us are probably going to need it one way or the other. Please join us for serious discussion, spiritual preparation, and bonding, very important, bonding with fellow Catholics. Registration information is provided below and on our site at soulsandliberty.com/retreat-at-sea 2024. So sign up and we hope to see you there. All right, Claver, by all accounts, it's close, pretty much split right down the middle. Why? Is there an issue here that everybody's falling either to this side or that side in response to?
Well, first thing I would admonish or remind the saints and patriots out there, Christian patriots, that the polling is unreliable. It is not trustworthy. And remember, it's about the Electoral College. You need to look at the polling on a state-by-state basis if you do want to study it. And you look at it with a severe eye of suspicion at its reliability and accuracy, as we have seen from previous election cycles. For some reason, the polling community likes to underpoll Donald Trump. There are many people who believe that this is going to be a total wipeout, a total landslide. There's no way in the world that Trump is going to lose this thing. But if there's a demarcation line, regardless of demographic, I would say, Gary, that it's the common sense approach, the common sense policies of Trump and Vance that's breaking the mold on some of these coalitions that have made the Democrat Party able to attain power in the last half century, last 2/3 of a century. Mm-hmm. Those coalitions are now starting to bust up. And I really think it's a policy and a likability and also recollection. It's not hard to remember what it was like 4 years ago. Right. It's hard to remember what it was like in 1776. Yeah. It's hard to remember if you know there's nobody who was alive to understand the temperatures and the pressures of society and culture at that time, or in 1836 at the time of the Texas Revolution. There's nobody that can remember that. Right. Just like when it comes to Brexit, there were people who remembered before the EU and how life was in Great Britain before the EU. And they said, no, we want to go back to what it was before the EU. The American electorate, I think, is saying this time, we want to go back to pre-2021. We want to go back before. We prefer what the conditions were in COVID than we do with the policies that are being poured on us now by Biden and Harris. And Harris is saying she's going to give us more of the same, that she wouldn't change anything.
She can't think of one
did.
Single thing she
Not
would change.
Not one single thing that she would change from Joe Biden. You think that's going to be attractive to the voters in these economic hard times? You think that's going to be attractive to all of these voters, especially in the African-American community that are fed up with the immigration invasion that is usurping their economic opportunities? No, it's not going to work. And to me, that's the demarcation. And I go back to the relatability. Trump goes into that barbershop for over an hour and he sits down and raps with those guys. You know, he goes to the black journalist. He goes to the Black Congressional Foundation. He goes to the Black Conservatives Foundation. Donalds and those guys had it down in Georgia, I do believe. Yeah. And he knocks it out of the park. Right. They love him. All right. They don't see him as a racist. They see him as someone who truly provides an opportunity economy. Donald Trump has been around for a long, long time. People have known him for a long, long time. His greatest strength going into 2016 was name identity. They've known him he's been in the public eye for a long, long time, since the 1980s. Sure. Okay. They know him. He's gone through 4 years. He made the country better, stronger. The Democrats do not project strength. Kamala Harris does not project strength. Tampon Tim is just weird. Okay. So, I think that's the demarcation, and I believe that's the advantage Trump has, the competitive advantage. He's relatable. Kamala and Waltz are not. The United States is not Minnesota values. The United States is not San Francisco values, and Waltz and Harris cannot escape it. Their policies are nonsensical. They don't make common sense. And the electorate is showing that in some of the polling data, that's the most attractive thing about the Republican ticket and all down ballot is that the policies make common sense. And Trump is doing what I've been begging Dan Patrick to do, Greg Abbott to do, Ken Paxton to do, all the Republican leaders to do here in the state of Texas. Go into the black church, go into the black community, go into the blue precincts where we normally don't tread and do what Trump did in 2016. What do you have to lose? Hey, listen, if you want your neighborhood, Third Ward in Houston, to look like Katy, okay, then maybe you should vote like the people in Katy. Right. If you want your neighborhood to look like that. If you want to drive heavy metal like people in Memorial and River Oaks drive heavy metal, maybe you should vote like they vote in Memorial and River Oaks. And perhaps the quality of your life, perhaps the betterment of your neighborhood is in the very near future.
Yeah. First of all, those are all spot on. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, on the question of common sense. I mean, if you can even hear that now in Trump's rhetoric in some of these sit-down interviews, he's like, look, the Republican Party is the party of common sense. I mean, I have to say, last night at the Al Smith dinner, sort of contrasting the common sense with the not common sense. I mean, Trump was on like a deadpan tear. I mean, he eviscerated the Democratic Party last night. But the two things that sort of jumped out at me, and I want to get your reaction to these, on the question of common sense and actually drifting over into natural law, because that's really, common sense really is heavily, strongly correlated and related to natural law. And, he said, I used to think it was strange when I heard Democrats saying, that men can have periods. And then I met Tim Walz. And then he said to Chuck Schumer, who was sitting right to his left, right beside him, he patted him on the back a couple of times. He was so close. And he said to him, if Kamala loses, your party is now so woke that, you still might become, Chuck, the first woman president of the United States. Schumer looked like he was gonna go ballistic.
He was the face of the night. He was the face of the night. Watching his reactions to Donald Trump just gashing the Democrats and the same thing with the Colin Allred Ted Cruz debate earlier in the week. Ted just slashed and burned him. It was unbelievable. An NFL linebacker, Colin Allred may have been, but Ted Cruz was the Solicitor General and has argued before the Supreme Court and is a national collegiate debating champion. He demolished. He did the blitzkrieg on that linebacker from the NFL. And I think this is what you're seeing. People are they're taking their lead from Trump. But they're also, in my opinion, guilty of relying on his coattails. Not doing what he's doing, going into the barbershop.
Exactly.
Going in front of the black journalist, going to the NAACP, even J.D. Vance, going to union halls that are not friendly to Republicans and accepting their boos and still getting the message out and doing it respectfully without being condescending like Barack Hussein Obama and earning their votes.
Right.
And I don't like what Abbott and Patrick and these guys are doing as far as relying on Trump's coattails skid into another victory here statewide. In Texas, they need to be doing what Trump is doing.
Exactly.
I've said it in my own political organizing, my community organizing, political organizing, and activism. Yep. That if we were able to get just 20 to 22 to 25% of the black votes, the Democrats can't win anywhere in the United States.
That's
they
correct.
can't do it. All right. And so what are we seeing now? We saw Trump break a ceiling in 2016 when it came to the black vote. He raised it again in 2016. And by some accounts, not just black men, but it's black women that's pushing him towards 30% of the black vote. This hasn't been seen since Richard Nixon in 1960 and Dwight Eisenhower in 1956 when blacks gave him 60%.
That would be the major brick. Excuse me. Pardon me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. That would be the major brick in the wall of the Democratic coalition. You sufficiently weaken by stripping away enough of that vote, and the rest of the coalition falls apart. I mean, credit, give the devil credit where it's due. That's what Obama did. He peeled away just enough of a little bit of this group and a little bit of that group and a little bit of this group, and and then added that to his coalition and was able to go over the top at, I think it was 54%. The first time around in 2008, it was 50-50 after that. It wasn't quite as successful, but it was successful enough. Mm-hmm. If you look at Obama, to go back to the beginning of the show, if you look at Obama lecturing black guys, young black guys, and Trump talking with them, how is that received, do you think? So I still see a lot of black guys, and not old guys, 50-ish and younger, on Twitter saying, Trump sucks and he's a psychopath and blah, 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 and all that and everything. How is he able to break through with some, apparently a sufficient number of young black guys, while Obama actually is ticking on? I mean, Steve Smith, I'm sorry, from ESPN, that man wouldn't know how to spell conservative. And he was just lit over Obama.
Barack Obama, he lost a lot of respect from a lot of black men by the way he spoke to them when it's questionable about who wears the pants in his household and his marriage. Okay.
We'll just pass over that.
I think it's Michelle Butch Obama. That's what I think it is. So there's this alpha males are drawn by alpha males. Yeah. And the Democrat Party has made it very clear that they are anti-alpha male. And any males that you see continually connecting themselves, are not questioning themselves about their allegiance to the Democrat Party, which has become so hostile towards men, but towards males. They're more open and giving to, transgenders than they are to genuine XY born males who take pride in being a male, who take pride in the role of a man in society, who consider themselves to be alphas and protectors and providers, and take the Bible ordinances for those of us who are husbands very seriously. The Democrat Party shuns them. The Democrat Party says something is wrong with them. Barack Obama says something is wrong with you if you're wearing the pants in the house, if you're the spiritual leader in the house, if you're the money maker in the house, if you're the protector in the house, something's wrong with you. You're toxic. You're poison. You're death. The party of death calling us death, those who protect life. It's nonsensical. They lose the argument once again based on common sense. And as you say correctly, natural law. Mm-hmm. And so now you're seeing who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thought? I prayed for it in my lifetime, and it is manifesting. Thank you, Lord Jesus, that the Democrat Party is actually having to fight for Black male voters and Black female voters. When you're getting close to 30% of the Black vote, that's a whole lot of Black women that's following their Black men into the lane of the common sense Republican Party. They may not be all and out conservative. They may not understand the ideology of political conservatism as of now, but I'll take their acceptance of populism as they incrementally move towards the essence of liberty, which is severely constrained government.
Well said, Claver. Well said. We're going to leave it there for right now, but there's 18 days to go. Just one quick question, just one name or the other. Who wins?
Oh, Trump wins going away. I cannot see Kamala Harris winning the Electoral College. The possibility of winning the popular vote, yes, with the balance on the coast, all the blueness on the East Coast and the West Coast, that she could potentially, just like Hillary Clinton and many other Democrat candidates, win the popular vote. I just can't see her winning the Electoral College vote. I can't see it. If she wins the Electoral College vote, my next prediction is Texas will be declaring independence.
We'll see how all of this goes. All right. Claver Kamau-Amani, brilliant guy, good friend, big contributor here at Souls and Liberty. Thanks much, brother. All right, while Democrats and Kamala were getting roasted at the Catholic Al Smith dinner last night, partially for not even showing up, the candidate of joy was morphing into, well, the candidate of rage.
Never let anyone take your joy from you. I call myself a joyful warrior. Right? Never let anyone take your joy from you. You do what you gotta do. And isn't that a wonderful way to live? To know you have purpose. Should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never again.
But here's the truth. There was never any joy in that campaign. It's built on death, child murder, child abuse, sex trafficking, destruction. She just did it with that phony smile and that weird cackle of hers. Now people have got to see her in sufficient doses, and they are moving away from her in droves, actually, despite their best efforts to conceal her and ride a media-inspired wave of vibes. voters are cluing in. Her handlers should never have let her do that Fox interview because the tyrant in her came out, kind of like a demon during an exorcism. Obama has jumped ugly for her. Bill Clinton essentially blamed her for the murders of young American girls by illegals. Her husband raped the nanny and got her pregnant. He also smacked the crap out of a girlfriend back in the day. Not a lot of joy in any of that. Murder, misogyny, accusations of sexism, and come on, where's the joy? Team Evil is getting desperate because Trump is back in the polling point to where he was just before the Kamala coup. She had her moment, fake as it was, and now the clock is ticking. She can hear it, the rest of the commies can hear it. Every day it gets a little louder. And now that trend lines are moving and hardening in Trump's favor, expect to see much less joy and, well, much more rage. Supernatural law informs us demons are never joyful. They're unable to actually experience joy. Rage is all they know. Tick-tock, commies, tick-tock. And get out and vote, Christian patriots. God love you. I'm Gary Michael Voris.